Hey everybody, Texas Stroker here, Lance's Performance Shop, LoneStarMopars.com. We just took a look and made good use of the Channellock 212 oil filter pliers. It was a nightmare situation. It was a necessity purchase. We got the job done. God bless Channellock. There's some fuel bowl screws for you. That said, going on the note, we got an oil filter, right? We've got that taken care of. Now, with a fuel filter, most of us run, a gear clamp, a gear worm clamp, where you just tighten it down with a screwdriver. Maybe you got a nut driver. That's typically what I go to. It's just a little quicker, in my opinion, less slip than you would have on, say, the Phillips head. But from the factory, you always have the crazy spring tension style, right? And right here we've got a Wix filter. This is 33033, just simple 3/8 in, 3/8 out. Absolutely nothing fancy about it. It is made in the USA apparently, which that's cool. But there we are, right? You do this all the time. It's just routine maintenance, especially with the ethanol in the fuels today. I got to do this way more often than you used to. But check this out. What do they include in it? A lot of filters do this. Napa Golds, I think, are the same way. These little clamps right here from the factory, whether we're talking classic Mopar, late model, they've got some little spin-off of this spring style clamp. Sometimes you got 3 tiers, sometimes it's just a thicker wire with 2. And of course, if you're like me, what you always reached for was just a pair of pliers. This was, ironically, I think one of the first real tools I ever had. I don't know who manufactured it, I don't know what it was. I got these and some Stanley screwdrivers in like an old tough box, right? And a square, some miscellaneous things like that. But you would just come in and, if you had to put this on or put it off, you do that, right? And you'd spread it. And it works fairly well, but then you get on either a higher quality spring, something a little tougher, and you start to slip off, right? You're unable to keep it squared, the spring clamp sliding around, your pliers wedge, they spread out, who knows what's going to happen. It's not ideal, right? So this is something I honestly had no clue existed. It was actually, I was attempting to figure out, I was checking the OD on my oil filters, seeing if I needed the 215s or if I could get by with the shorter 212s, which again, if I would have had 15-inch overall length, I don't think I could have gotten that oil filter off. I was having to work between the 6 and 8 primaries off the headers. It was very, very little progress per turn, and I don't know that the 215s would have fit. Ironically, when I was trying to find that information, I saw these and I was like, well, what are those, like some weird slip joint plier? Well, these are actually labeled as Hose Clamp Pliers. Now, I'm sure a lot of people probably knew those were readily available. I did not. This is just like when I was a kid, first got the car. I'd blow a power valve all the time, right, when it would backfire through the carb. Hey, go get another power valve. And then one day I was talking to an old dude and he's like, well, you got a blowout kit in that thing? I'm like, what are you talking about, Seemed he was talking about tires. Well, it turns out, people had that problem and they fixed it, right? So somebody had been trying to get these clamps off for years with regular pliers, and they're like, you know what? If we did this, it wouldn't slip. So this is Channellock 558. These are an 8-inch length. Picked these up from Summit. The price on them, I believe, was $15.99. Let's see. That is correct, $15.99. So these are made in the USA, of course, as is most of Channellock's products. Has the classic blue grips there. On the handle, if that would focus, you can kind of see there where it says 558 down towards the bottom. We spin it around. What are the selling points? They are hose clamp pliers. There's also a wire cutting shear. I was unaware of that. Permalock fastener eliminates nut and bolt failure. What do they mean by that? I'll show you here in a second. And of course, I believe it's 1080 high carbon steel for superior performance and ultimate rust preventative coating. So once again, these are made in the good old state of Pennsylvania. We'll just snap them out of the packaging. Nothing too fancy about them, right? They just kind of look like your standard slip joint plier, if you will. You've got, shut all the way, don't shut all the way. All right. So where's the wire shear? I guess that would have to be down at the bottom. It's sort of a different style than I'm used to, but there they are, and this is where they're going to excel. I've never used these, obviously, so we might have a bit of a learning curve. Oh yes, I'm applying no pressure, but I can tell that's going to stay put. Where a traditional pair of pliers, regardless of the brand, if they're not designed for this, even if they have some fancy crosshatch, which might be slightly superior, most are just going to have like a serrated tooth, similar to what you can kind of see there. There you go. See what we can do with the palm of our hand. Most pliers are going to be like this. I don't care the brand. I don't care if they're knockoffs, Harbor Freight, Craftsman, the most expensive overpriced pair you could get. They're generally going to be the same design, right? Well, these have this little groove in them, and again, you can see I've got literally no pressure. I can just cycle my fingers, and that is staying put. Now when I apply, oh, that's satisfying. That's a situation where I believe the tool's a little bit better than the spring clamp. That hit off of a 10 sign above the workbench and rocketed back towards the duster. But check this out. That's just a very, very fluid, very simple movement. We're going to be able to expand the clamp, slide the hose in and out. Perfect scenario here is just what they gave us. We open it up. I can take that through. As soon as I release a little bit of tension on them, it's clamped down. Let's just pick it up. I'm not even going to pay attention to where I'm at. They just grab. They just sort of position themselves. That is awesome. $15.99. If you do anything with fuel lines on a regular basis, if you just service your own vehicles, your family's vehicles, you and your friends, if you're in a car club, let alone if you have a shop, if you are routinely having to service, replace filters, general maintenance, very simple, very basic stuff, these will pay for themselves very quickly. If it's just an off deal, and you're kind of buying it for a one-time use, every single time that usage comes back, you're going to be covered. So that kind of shows you what the end of the pliers looks like. And again, they will actually work as a standard plier. For example, I've got these are actually feet off of patio furniture I plan to use for something. So if we needed to just latch onto them just like we would with our standard, we can do that as well. The head of the pliers actually would work the same as you would with a traditional set. Again, it's just those have that groove cut into them. If I narrow our field of range here, you can sort of see that. And then of course, if we look at the head of the plier, that's where the magic happens, right up there at the top. My hands were clean, and then of course we changed the filter on a small block Mopar with headers, so my apologies there. Some people may prefer that, some don't. But these are very, very nice. I can't convey exactly what it's like, but when I take these pliers, which, I've done this for years, you get used to it. It's kind of a deal that slid off the edge of the clamp there. I'm hoping it doesn't go flying. That's our standard form right now. Note if I just come in here and I'm trying to just no-look it like I did with those Channellocks, it just seats it. Maybe we'll bat 50%, maybe we have to reposition. I'm not exaggerating this at all. I feel really good about this purchase now that I've used these. So if we come in, obviously, a diameter, it's designed to be spring tension based, right? So we'll simply grab here, squeeze all the way. That is really, really nice. And it's on. Awesome. I don't know how I didn't know these existed. However, I assume many people, because in all the times I've messed with cars, I've never had somebody, hey, go get me the, hose clamp pliers, or hey, hand me your hose clamp pliers. Never have I heard that. I've never had someone offer to borrow them. I've never complained about hose clamps, which routinely comes up when you're hanging out with car people. Never have I heard anyone mention these. I don't know if I'm the last to get in on it and I'm just around people that are in a similar boat, or if these are the best known thing or they're just a best kept secret. I love them. They're going to be awesome, and I can use these right away. So if it's a situation, again, I typically go, I thought I had a box of the gear worm clamps on the bench. I think they must be under the charger, honestly, if they're not here. But if you get tired of a Phillips head, if you get the slotted ones are terrible. I don't know why they do that. Again, I'm somebody, that's one of the big reasons I have nut drivers. 1/4, 5/16, and 3/8 sort of covers all three of the hex heads you would have on smaller worm gears. You get a little bit bigger, like a radiator hose, you might have to step it up past that, but these are awesome. I don't know how I didn't know they existed, but they do, and I'm very glad. $15.99, I feel very good about that. Honestly, I'd say once you've done 1 or 2 filter changes, you're taken care of. So if you're ever coming in, modifying anything, even on your late model vehicles, these will be applicable. They are sort of a, I would say, specialty tool, but of course they will function as normal pliers if you do desire that to happen. I'm trying to learn more, though, about this wire. wire cutting shear. Yeah, that's where they say. So it's right there kind of ahead of the pivot points. I've got some speaker wire here. I guess we'll check it out. Let's see, I don't want to trim too much out of this because I was going to use it for something, believe it or not. Maybe? I'm not sure I would call that a wire cutting shear. It clearly didn't do a fantastic job. I don't know that you can see that well at all. Yeah. I think you could, I mean, it's nipping the coating, I'll give it that, but let's be honest, these are designed for hose clamp pliers, hose clamps, and they do a fantastic job of that. If you need to trim these, get yourself some wire cutters. Right tool for the job, which this is a job I didn't know had the right tool. I thought you had to use regular old pliers, right, or a crescent wrench or something. Different strokes for different folks. Channellock 558, $15.99 was the price from Summit Racing. Awesome. Very, very cool. Again, it's amazing the things you can find if you're just milling around about on the internet at night. And that's how we came across these bad boys. Made in the USA, very affordable, very reasonable. If they perform like the rest of the Channellock tools I had, they will service us for a very, very long time. Probably outlast us, and good news for my nephew, we'll probably wind up with them. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know, did you know, and be honest, don't try to be the hot shot like, oh, well, I knew that, you know. Did you know that there were actually pliers designed for hose clamps? Because like I said, and I'm somebody that hang out with really, really old guys, most of whom have passed away now, and then all the baby boomers that grew up in the muscle car era in the heyday, right, 60s and 70s folk, and then the ones that did crazy stuff in the 80s. All the car people I've been around, I have never, ever heard any of them reference hose clamp pliers. So at the price point now, if these were like $75, I wouldn't have brought them in. That's asinine. Can't justify it. At $15.99, what a freaking deal. So I'm pretty happy. But again, let me know. Is this something that you use? Is this something you were oblivious to? I would advise, if you're interested in these, if you have a use for them, even if you're just plumbing your car once or twice, or kind of taking care of some basic maintenance, pick them up, tell your friends about them, see what they think. I believe you will all be impressed. That said, thanks so much for watching. LoneStarMopars.com is the website. You can follow along there. You can follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, find us on Instagram. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, leave a comment. If you hate these, if you knew they existed, if you use something else that you feel is better, by all means tell people. Personally, as good as these worked right there, I think I'm going to be set. So I will archive your information for later use, but I think I will stick with what I've got.